Abroad. I lived abroad for 3 years. Absolutely. I am absolutely sure I left the keys in my coat pocket. Accidentally. I accidentally cut my thumb. Accurately. The weather forecast accurately predicted the storm. Across. The stream is very narrow, you can easily jump across. Actually. It looks quite small, but actually it is over 5 meters high. Afterwards. We'll have lunch first and go shopping afterwards. Again. He had to take his driving test again. Aggressively. Small children often behave aggressively. Ago. He phoned a few minutes ago. Ahead. Our team was losing, but now we are ahead again. Alike. My sister and I just don't think alike. All. I forgot all about her birthday. Almost. She's almost as tall as I am. Alone. I don't like traveling alone. Aloud. He read the poem aloud. Already. I've been waiting an hour already. Also. She sings well and can also play the violin. Altogether. The staff of the 3 shops come to 200 altogether. Always. Why does it always rain when we want to go for a walk? Angrily. He shouted angrily when the children climbed over the fence. Anxiously. They are waiting anxiously for the results of the exam. Anymore. We don't go there anymore. Anyway. I'll go anyway, no matter what you say. Anywhere. Put the chair anywhere. Apart. The 2 villages are about 6 miles apart. Apparently. Apparently she took the last train home and then disappeared. Approximately. It takes approximately 35 minutes to get to the city center from here. Around. Papers were lying around all over the floor. Artificially. Food prices are being kept artificially low. Aside. He took me aside and whispered in my ear. Automatically. The doors opened automatically as we approached. Away. The nearest shop is 3 kilometers away. Awfully. It's awfully difficult to contact her. Back. Put the telephone back on the table. Backwards. Tab is bat spelled backwards. Badly. He was badly injured in the motorway accident. Barely. She barely had enough money to pay for her ticket. Basically. Basically, I'm just lazy. Beautifully. Their house is beautifully decorated. Before. Why didn't you tell me before? Behind. He was first and the rest of the runners were a long way behind. Below. These toys are for children of 2 years and below. Beneath. She looked out of the window at the children playing beneath. Besides. I don't want to go for a picnic, besides it's starting to rain. Best. The engine works best when it's warm. Better. She sings better than her sister. Bitterly. He bitterly regrets what he said. Blankly. He just stared blankly at me. Bluntly. You're drunk, she said bluntly. Bravely he went into the burning house. Briefly, I think we should accept their offer. Brightly, a children's book with brightly painted pictures. Bye. She drove by without seeing us. Calmly, he calmly swatted a couple of flies. Carefully, the holiday had been carefully planned or planned carefully. Carelessly, and he nodded his head in my direction carelessly. Casually, he casually mentioned that he had got married last Saturday. Certainly. Can you give me a lift to the station? Certainly. Cheap. I bought them cheap in the local market. Cheaply. It is not easy to live cheaply in this city. Cheekily. He grinned cheekily. Chiefly. The town is famous chiefly for its cathedral. Clearly. Please speak clearly. Cleverly. I thought you handled the situation very cleverly. Clockwise. Turn the lid clockwise to tighten it. Close. Keep close by me if you don't want to get lost. Closely. She studied the timetable very closely. Coldly. She looked at me coldly and turned away. Comfortably. Make sure you're comfortably dressed because it is rather cold outside. Commonly. The kangaroo is commonly associated with Australia. Completely. The town was completely destroyed in the earthquake. Confidently. Try to act confidently even if you feel nervous. Consciously. I wasn't consciously ignoring her, I just didn't notice her. Considerably. He's considerably fatter than he was when I knew him. Constantly. He talked constantly about his work. Continuously. The volcano has been erupting almost continuously since 1980. Conveniently. Several restaurants are conveniently located nearby. Correctly. Did I spell your name correctly? Currently. He is currently the manager of our Paris office. Daily. We can deliver milk daily. Dangerously. The boat was dangerously close to the rocks. Dead. He was dead tired after his long walk. Deep. The mine goes deep under the sea. Deeply. Her lies hurt my father deeply. Definitely. I'll definitely be there by 7 o'clock. Deliberately. He deliberately left the cage door open. Direct. The plane flies direct to Anchorage. Directly. He refused to answer the question directly. Dishonestly. They were accused of dishonestly obtaining bank loans. Distinctly. I distinctly told you not to call me. Down. Put the box down in the corner. Downhill. The road goes downhill for a while and then crosses the river. Downstairs. I left my cup of coffee downstairs. Downwards. The body was lying face downwards. Dreadfully. They're dreadfully busy at the moment. Due. The plane flew due west. Duty free. He bought the watch at the airport duty free. Eagerly. The news was eagerly awaited. Earlier. Can't you come any earlier than Tuesday? Early. The plane arrived 5 minutes early. Easily. I passed my driving test easily. East. The kitchen windows face east, so we get the morning sun. Effectively. The floodlighting worked very effectively. Efficiently. She runs the business very efficiently. Either. He isn't Irish and he isn't Scottish either. Else. What else can I say? Elsewhere. This shop doesn't stock maps, so you'll have to try elsewhere. Enormously. The show was enormously popular. Enough. He doesn't work fast enough. Entirely. I agree with you entirely. Equally. They are all equally guilty. Especially. This suitcase is especially heavy. Essentially. My new job is essentially not so very different from my old one. Etc. Fruit such as oranges, bananas, etc. Even. He doesn't even like strawberries. Evenly. Apply the cream evenly over the skin. Eventually. After weeks of hesitation, he eventually decided to sell the cottage. Ever. Nothing ever happens here. Everywhere. There were papers lying about everywhere. Exactly. I don't know exactly what happened. Exceptionally. He was an exceptionally bright child. Extraordinarily. Her action was extraordinarily brave. Extremely. It was extremely hot in August. Fairly. She treats everyone fairly. Far. How far away is Paris from London? Far from. The food here is far from cheap. Fast. Walk faster if you want to catch up with the children in front. Fiercely. Maria was fiercely independent. Finally. The police finally cleared up the mystery. Fine. It's working fine. Firmly. The table was fixed firmly to the floor. First. Wash your hands first and then you can eat. Fondly. She spoke to her children fondly. Forever. I will love you forever. Formally. The deal will be formally announced on Tuesday. Formerly. He was formerly head of our department. Fourth. From that day forth he never drank again. Fortunately. Fortunately, he had remembered to take an umbrella. Forward. He took 2 steps forward. Forwards. She bent forwards to hear what he had to say. Frequently. The ferries don't run as frequently in the winter. Full. The story has never been told in full. Fully. She still hasn't fully recovered from her accident. Further. Can you all move further back? I can't get you in the picture. Furthest. The furthest distance I have ever flown is to Hong Kong. Generally. The office is generally closed between Christmas and the New Year. Generously. He generously insisted on paying for dinner. Gently. He gently put the blanket over her. Gladly. He'll gladly come and help you. Gradually. His condition improved gradually day by day. Greatly. The cost of repairs has greatly increased in recent years. Gross. His salary is paid gross. Halfway. Come on, we're more than halfway there. Happily. She was happily married. Hard. It's snowing very hard. Hardly. She hardly eats anything at all. Heavily. He sat down heavily on the little chair. Hence. 5 months hence the situation should be better. Here. I'll sit here in the shade and wait for you. High. The sun rose high in the sky. Highly. The restaurant has been highly recommended. Home. We've got to go home now. Honestly. Honestly, you might have told me sooner. How? I don't know how he does it. However you do it, the result is the same. Humorously. A humorously misleading sign. Illegally. They entered the country illegally. Immediately. As soon as he heard the news, he immediately phoned his wife. Impatiently. Yes, you said that before, she said impatiently. In. Could you bring the clothes in for me? Incidentally. Incidentally, where were you born? Increasingly. The panda is becoming an increasingly rare animal. Indeed. Thank you very much indeed for inviting me to stay. Indirectly. He was indirectly involved in the robbery. Indoors. Let's go indoors. Initially. Initially we didn't like the new flat, but we have got used to it now. Inland. If you go inland from the port, you soon get into the forest. Inside. Come on inside, it's cold in the street. Instantly. He died instantly and did not suffer. Instead. We haven't any coffee, would you like some tea instead? Inwards. These doors open inwards. Just. Is that too much sugar? No, it's just right. Largely. His farm is largely grazing land. Last. Out of a queue of 20 people, I was served last. Lately. What have you been doing lately? Later. Can we meet later this evening? Least. I like that part of the book least. Left. Go straight ahead and turn left at the traffic lights. Legally. Legally, they cannot do that. Less. The second film was less interesting than the first. Little. It's little more than 2 miles from the sea. Little by little. Little by little, he got better. Live. The show was broadcast live. Long. Have you been waiting long? Loud. I can't sing any louder. Loudly. The radio was playing very loudly. Low. The plane was flying too low, it hit the trees. Luckily, the damage was not serious. People mainly go on holiday in the summer. Maybe the next bus will be the one we want. Meanwhile, you can set the table. Meanwhile, I'll start making dinner. Mentally, I'm okay, but physically I'm a wreck. It was merely a suggestion. Monthly, she gets paid monthly. Morally, she felt morally obligated to help. More, the dog was more frightened than I was. Moreover, the cellar was dark. Moreover, mice nested there. Much. He's feeling much better today. Naturally. Do you want to watch the game? Naturally. Near. Our house is near the post office. Nearby. He lives just nearby. Nearly. He's nearly 18. He'll be going to university next year. Necessarily. That's not necessarily true. Neither. He doesn't eat meat and neither does his wife. Never. We'll never forget that restaurant. Nevertheless. She had a cold but went to the meeting nevertheless. Next. On Wednesday we go to Paris and the next day we travel to Italy. No. Do you want another cup of coffee? No, thank you. Noisily. He blew his nose noisily. Non-stop. The planes flies to Hong Kong non-stop. Normally. The bus is normally late. North. They were traveling north at the time. Northeast. They were traveling northeast at the time. Northwest. They were traveling northwest at the time. Not. It isn't there. Now. I can hear a train coming now. Nowhere. My wallet was nowhere to be found. Obviously. She obviously enjoys her work. Occasionally. Occasionally he has to work late. O'clock. Get up, it's 7 o'clock. Of course. Are you coming with us? Of course I am. Off. The office is just off the main road. Off and on. They phone each other off and on. Officially. The museum officially opens next month. Often. I often have to go to town on business. On. Have you put the kettle on? On and off. He's been smoking for 10 years now, on and off. Once. The magazine comes out once a month. Only. We've only got £10 between us. Originally it was mine, but I gave it to my brother. Otherwise. Do what I tell you, otherwise you'll be sorry. Out. How did the tiger get out of its cage? Outdoors. The ceremony is usually held outdoors. Outside. It's beautiful and warm outside in the garden. Outwards. The door opens outwards. Over. Children of 16 and over pay full price. Overhead. Look at that plane overhead. Overseas. He went to work overseas for some years. Particularly. I particularly asked them not to walk on the lawn. Partly. I'm only partly satisfied with the result. Patiently. He patiently waited for his turn. Perfectly. That dress fits you perfectly. Perhaps. Perhaps the train is late. Permanently. He was permanently banned. Physically. I find him physically very attractive. Plainly. He's plainly bored by the French lesson. Politely. Ask the lady politely if you can have a sweetie. Possibly. The meeting will possibly finish late. Practically. Practically all the students passed the test. Precisely. The date is not precisely known. Presently. I'll be there presently. Pretty. I'm pretty sure I'm right. Previously. Previously, the state paid for the program. Probably. We're probably going to Spain for our holidays. Promptly. He reacted promptly during the emergency. Properly. The parcel wasn't properly addressed. Proudly. He spoke proudly of his son's achievements. Publicly. The Prime Minister publicly denied the accusations. Quickly. The fireman came quickly when we called 999. Quietly. She shut the door quietly behind her. Quite. It's quite a long play. Rapidly. Her heart beat rapidly. Rarely. I rarely buy a Sunday newspaper. Rather. Their house is rather on the small side. Really. The building really belongs to my father. Recently. I've seen him quite a lot recently. Regularly. They play golf regularly. Relating to. Documents relating to the sale of the house. Relatively. The children have been relatively free from colds this winter. Reluctantly. Reluctantly, he agreed. Remarkably. She remained remarkably calm. Remotely. I've never seen anything remotely like it. Repeatedly. The phone rang repeatedly, but no one answered. Right. The wind was right behind us. Roughly. Don't play so roughly with the children. Round. The earth goes round the sun. Rudely. He spoke rudely to him. Sadly. Sadly, John couldn't join us for my birthday party. Safely. The parcel arrived safely. Second class. We always travel second class because it is cheaper. Secretly. She wrote to him secretly. Securely. Tie the boat securely to the dock. Seldom. We seldom go to the movies. Separately. The two vegetables should be cooked separately. Seriously. Was anyone in the car seriously hurt? Severely. She was severely punished for being late. Sexually. She was sexually abused as a child. Sharp. The road turns sharp right. Shortly. He will come shortly. Sideways. Crabs walk sideways. Similarly. All these infections must be treated similarly. Simply. He described very simply how the accident had happened. Since. She phoned on Sunday and we haven't heard from her since. Sincerely. He sincerely apologized for breaking the vase. Skillfully. It was difficult, but he did it very skillfully. Slightly. He was only slightly hurt in the car crash. Slowly. Luckily, the car was going very slowly when it hit the fence. Smoothly. This car rides smoothly. So. It's so cold that the lake is covered with ice. Soaking. I was soaking wet. Socially. I know her from work, but I've never met her socially. So far. He has written only 2 books so far. Someday. Someday I'll get round to cleaning out the garage. Somehow. Somehow we must get back home by 6 o'clock. Sometimes. We all make mistakes sometimes. Somewhat. She is somewhat of an expert. Somewhere. Let's go somewhere else. This pub is full. Soon. Don't worry, we'll soon be in Oxford. Sooner. Can't we meet any sooner than that? Sound. The children were sound asleep when the police came. South. Many birds fly south for the winter. Specifically. I specifically said I didn't want a blue door. Steadily. The company's exports have grown steadily. Still. I thought he had left, but I see he's still there. Straight. She was sitting straight in front of you. Strictly. The speed limit is strictly enforced. Strongly. He was strongly attached to his family. Subsequently. I subsequently discovered that there had been a mistake. Successfully. They successfully avoided each other for days. Suddenly. Suddenly the room went dark. Sure. Can I borrow your car? Sure, go ahead. Surely. Surely they can't expect us to work on Sundays? Temporarily. Due to a small fire, the office will be closed temporarily. Terribly. The situation is terribly serious. That. His new car is not really that big. Then. Ever since then I've refused to eat oysters. There. Is that black van still there parked outside the house? Therefore. I therefore have decided not to grant his request. This. She's never been this far away from home. Thoroughly. I'm thoroughly fed up with the whole business. Though tired, she still kept on running. Through. Someone left the gate open and all the sheep got through. Throughout. Heavy snow fell throughout the night. Thus. The 2 pieces fit together thus. Tidily. Everything was tidily arranged. Tightly. Close the door tightly. Today. He said he wanted to see me today, but he hasn't come yet. Together. Tell the children to stay together or they'll get lost. Tomorrow. Are you free for lunch tomorrow? Tonight. I'll be at home from 8 o'clock tonight. 2. There are too many people to fit into the lift. Totally. The house was totally destroyed in the fire. Traditionally. More women are entering traditionally male jobs. Treacherous. There are treacherous reefs just offshore. Truly. He truly believes that was what happened. Twice. Turn it off. I've seen that program twice already. Underground. Worms live all their life underground. Underneath. He got out of the car and looked underneath. Unexpectedly. His father died unexpectedly. Unfairly. Mrs. Taylor believes her son has been unfairly treated. Unfortunately. Unfortunately, you were out when we called. Unhappily. They lived unhappily. Unluckily. Unluckily for her, it rained that day. Up. Put your hands up above your head. Upside down. Don't turn the box upside down, all the papers will fall out. Upstairs. She ran upstairs with the letter. Up to date. I keep myself up to date on the political situation by reading the newspaper every day. Upwards. The path went upwards for a mile then leveled off. Usually. Women usually live longer than men. Very. Can you see that very tall pine tree over there? Violently. This horse threw him violently onto the ground. Virtually. It's virtually impossible to get tickets for the concert. Visibly. He was visibly annoyed. Weekly. We have a weekly paper which tells us all the local news. Well. He doesn't speak Russian very well. West. The river flows west into the ocean. What? What beautiful weather. When? When is the last train for Paris? Whenever. Come for tea whenever you like. Where? Where did I put my glasses? Wherever. You can sit wherever you want. Whole. The birds catch small fish and swallow them whole. Why? Why did he have to phone me in the middle of the TV film? Wide. She opened her eyes wide. Widely. It is widely expected that he will resign. Wild. The crowds were running wild through the center of the town. Worse. He drives badly enough but his sister drives even worse. Worst. It's difficult to say which team played worst. Wrong. Everything went wrong yesterday. Wrongly. The cut line wrongly identified the people in the photo. Yes. Anyone want more coffee? Yes, please. Yesterday. She came to see us yesterday evening. Yet. Has the manager arrived yet?
Thanks for watching.